we have a podcast.
Diving deep into all things Texans, both on and off the field. Here's Sean Pendergast and Pro Football Hall of Famer, the General, John McClain. Welcome to Houtopia.
All right, John, you ready to do a little six-pack? Get ready for the
Absolutely.
game? 6 people, storylines, aspects of this game that we need to know about, and we'll give predictions on the game as well. John, as always, you go first.
The biggest storyline to me is the offensive line. The running game's been awful. It was awful last week when they gained 86 yards and averaged 3.3 a carry, and we were all ready to pop the champagne corks. And most of that came when Devin Singletary was running in the fourth quarter and the game was out of reach. So the line, and I don't think it's possible, unless Dameon Pierce were to break a long run, that they're going to get a lot of yards. But Bobby Slowick's got to call plays for it anyway to try to slow down Watt and Highsmith. So I think it all starts up front, but I don't think they're certainly going to be any better than they were, because they just don't have the talent.
Yeah, you just named my first one, and it's Bobby Slowick. This is a Bobby Slowick game, John. I mean, you're working in it's a triage situation along the offensive line, but you got a really good quarterback. Your receiving room is better than anybody thought it would be before the season. You got a couple solid running backs in Pierce and Singletary. Dalton Schultz has got to pull his head out at some time here, John, and make some plays for this team. So you've got weapons out there, enough weaponry certainly to deal with getting into a shootout or whatever the offense is going to look like with the Steelers. You got enough firepower to beat this Steelers offense. You know what I mean? Like the Texans have the better offense of these two teams. Kenny Pickett stinks. He's terrible. So to me, it's a Slowick game. He's got to find some plays. He's got to find some ways to scheme around this offensive line and TJ Watt and Alex Highsmith. And I think a lot of that's going to have to do with probably a short pass game. You know, you got to put it on CJ Stroud in a way that's not compromising him. So I think getting the ball out quick, probably a lot of things like Jacksonville likes to do, like last week. You know, Trevor Lawrence just getting the ball out fast to guys. I think that's what it's going to be. But this is a Bobby Slowick game. If they win this game, we will be talking on Sunday night on the Houtopia Football Podcast. Bobby Slowick will be one of the stock ups guaranteed if the Texans win this game.
If they were to pull off this upset, we'd be talking about the offensive line and left guard Kendrick Green, who started for the Steelers 2 years ago, then not last year, and they got rid of him to the Texans because they were desperate. My second one's going to be Stroud. It doesn't bother me that Dalton Schultz is not catching passes, because I don't want him taking passes away from the wide receivers. They've got 2 guys that are big play receivers, one that's very reliable. They all have 15 catches. If they're going to throw the ball 50 times a game, sure. Tight ends catch the ball more. Wouldn't surprise me if we don't see more Brevin Jordan when they have. They're going to give Dalton Schultz every opportunity to become more involved in a positive way, since they paid him $9 million for 1 year, and probably made some promises to him about the opportunities he's going to receive. But one of the most impressive things Stroud did last week, besides not turn it over, was spread the ball around. I think it was, I can't remember, 8 or 9 receivers caught passes, and they all had their moments. Those 3 wideouts all had their moments, and so did Brevin Jordan. He had a touchdown. He was the kind of lost in space. You forget he's even on the team, and he had 2 catches, and Stroud really talks him up. So you know Stroud's going to try to get him the ball, but Stroud has got to avoid Watt and Highsmith. And if somehow, I'd say if those guys, if the over-under on sacks between them was 3 and they could keep it at the under, I think the Texans would have a chance to pull off the upset.
I would say so too. Yeah, under means 2. So that's if that's 1 sack apiece for TJ Watt and Alex Highsmith, I would sign up for that right now. Like, not knowing what the rest of the game looked like, John, if someone came to me and said the only thing you're allowed to control is you can pick one thing to control, one stat to control. And if they said available to me is 1 sack apiece for TJ Watt and Alex Highsmith, I'd sign up for that and then let the chips fall where they may with the rest of the game. Absolutely. My second one, 4th overall in the 6-pack, is the return of Jalen Petrie. This is a quarterback who can be had, John. Kenny Pickett, he'll throw one up there for you. I think this is a game that's going to be, we'll get into predictions in a minute, but just generally speaking, I think it's going to be a tight, probably a low-scoring game that could be decided by turnovers, maybe even a big play that swings the field with a turnover. I don't think this is going to be a shootout. I expect CJ Stroud to play well. I just don't expect this to be one of those 20 for 30 for 280 yards like last week, or 384 yards like the week before that. If he's dropping back that much, it's probably dangerous at that point. So you're going to need turnovers. I ain't getting Jalen Petrie back from this bruised lung. He's fresh. He's probably super motivated to make some plays. And he looked good in the half that he played against Baltimore. He made some impactful plays as a blitzer. That might even be his biggest impact, John, if they choose to bring the heat on Kenny Pickett a little bit. Jalen Petrie is a really good blitz guy. He makes a lot of the game-changing plays he makes. A lot of them are in the backfield, whether it's a tackle for loss or a sack. So I think getting Petrie back and having him and Jimmy Ward on the field at the same time for the first time this year is going to be huge for this team.
One of the things that he excelled at the most at Baylor was making tackles for losses and blitzing quarterback. And if he didn't get a sack, at least disrupt the timing with the receiver and force him to get rid of it. He's chomping at the bit to be able to come back and play in such a big game. It means so much to so many people here. And I hope he plays very well, and I hope he can stay healthy, because he was talking about how hard it was for him to breathe with that bruised lung after he got Lamar Jackson's knee in his chest. So he said he's 100%, though. My next one is Frank Ross's special teams. Will Anderson Jr. had the blocked field goal to set up a short touchdown. Andrew Beck, the first guy over 250 pounds, returned a kickoff for a touchdown. And I love to see Tank Dell get his hands on the ball more as a punt returner, but the special teams, which are always good, best in the NFL last season, they need to keep making big plays to affect field position. And if they can do that, that would certainly enhance their chance to send the Steelers back home with a loss for the first time since opening day.
Yeah, special teams is it's huge. The Texans, once again, John, under Frank Ross. Do you think Frank Ross could be a head coach someday?
A lot of people over there think that Frank could. Now, one of the things that I think Frank needs to do is when he does his interviews every Thursday, he is straight by the book. And when he talks, he's a good talker, but I think he needs to open up a little more. But people say he's very talented. John Harbaugh was a special teams coach. Back then, they didn't make you have the coordinators talk, but Andy Reid always wanted Harbaugh once a week to come in there and talk to the media. And the idea was to promote Harbaugh as a serious head coaching candidate. And the more Harbaugh talked, the more impressed people were with everything he talked about football. Of course, he's been one of the best coaches in the league since the Baltimore hired him. But if that's one of Frank's goals, I think I'd love to see him do it. He's a good guy. Does a great job here.
He does. I like Frank Ross a lot. I thought of when I've been around him and either talk to him or listen to him talk or whatever, he does strike me as having some head coach qualities. He's got a great charisma about him, really good energy about him for sure.
Yes, he does.
No doubt. All right, my last one, John, what was it? Because it was going to be special teams, and then you swiped special teams.
Sorry.
That's okay. That's you. That's why you get to go first. Let's see here. I had it in my brain. Jalen Petrie. Oh, Steven Nelson. The Steelers do not have a ton of weapons that can really beat you in this game on singular plays. Like Najee Harris is a nice running back, and is it Jalen Warren, who is the backup? He's made some plays, but they're generally not a very good football team, and they're not a good running football team. George Pickens, though, he is a threat. He is a really good young receiver, and the only touchdowns they scored in that Cleveland win that they had on Monday Night Football were defensive touchdowns and long catches by George Pickens in that game. He's really, really good. He's very talented. Steven Nelson is probably going to draw that assignment, I would guess, with no Derek Stingley out there. So Steven Nelson in this game, making sure that you don't allow any big plays. Make sure you are forcing the Steelers, John, to have to go 8, 9, 10, 12 plays to go get anything, because eventually they'll screw it up. So don't allow any big chunk plays. And I think the biggest place that they get chunk plays, the Steelers, or potentially get them, is with George Pickens. That assignment, I'm guessing, is Steven Nelson. So Steven Nelson is the last bottle in the six-pack, if you will.
Nelson has played very well this year, even better than last year when he played well. And talking about cornerbacks, there's one on the Steelers going to want a little revenge.
Oh, yeah.
Desmond King, they cut him. We were all shocked. Steelers got him immediately. And he wants to have a big game to get some revenge.
I haven't followed. Is he getting on the field for them, John? Is he playing for them?
I haven't paid any attention.
Yeah. Kendrick Green, revenge game for him, as you mentioned, John. There's revenge all over the place for these two squads. All right. So what's your prediction, General?
I'm predicting the Steelers 20-17.
You're picking the Steelers, huh? Well,
Absolutely.
as you know, absolutely. It's a 2.5 point spread, Johnny. You make it sound like they're going to get blown out or something. Come on,
everybody's gotten so fired up. Like, every show I've been on, except with you and Seth, they're talking about winning the division and all this. I'm like, guys, it's 3 games into the season. It's fun
Really?
to bask in the glory of the victory, which was great. But you got to pump the brakes a little bit.
John, you got to forgive people. This is a foreign feeling right now from the last 3 years. So
I think it's great for this week, but man.
Yeah. Well, I haven't made any grand predictions like that, like winning the division or anything. But as you know, I picked them to win this game before the Jacksonville game. I'm not one of these Johnny-come-latelys. I said on this very podcast that the Texans' first win of the season, when they were 0-2, and everybody thought they were the dregs of the league, I thought that the Steeler game would be the first game they'd win. I didn't think they'd beat Jacksonville. I picked Jacksonville, but I did pick them to cover the spread against Jacksonville, unlike you, who thought they were going to get blown out.
I got the 20-point spread right.
You got the spread right. You said the wrong team. Fair. But I picked them over a week ago. I thought the energy, the JJ Watt energy, the desperation of being 0-3, and the big thing is the fact that I just don't think this is a great Steelers football team. Obviously the big concern is the one thing the Steelers do at an elite level for the Steelers' sake matches up perfectly with what the Texans are suffering right now, which is injuries on the offensive line. But I'm trusting in Bobby Slowick that he's going to be able to scheme around this. I'm trusting in CJ Stroud that this 0 sack thing against Jacksonville last week is due in big part as much to him as it is the offensive line, getting rid of the football, not taking sacks, certainly not taking big chunk sacks like he was against Baltimore in week 1, where he's getting sacked and it's 2nd and 23 all of a sudden or something like that. So I'm going Texans 23-20 in this game. I got the Texans.
Ooh,
Texans.
Boy, it'll be a great week if you're right. And what a great day for the JJ Watt Ring of Honor. People be celebrating 2-2 and talking about that AFC South title.
Amen. John, you want to do something?
You're right.
Thank you. I do too. I hope I'm right too. And I hope you're wrong. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more content like this. If you want to see more of our videos, be sure to check out our playlist and let us know what you think in the comments below.
Also, don't forget to follow us on social media to stay up to date on our latest updates. Links are in the description. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.